My name is Denice Walker, and I am a person of many interests. So I've had several career paths. Currently, I'm working as a legislative aide for our local senator from Yahaka's list. And in my downtime, I serve on some boards and commissions. I serve on the SPAN board of directors, so Safehouse Progressive Alliance for Nonviolence, and I'm the vice chair of Lafayette Human Rights Commission. Oh, and I also am a member of the LGBTQ community. So, just how could I forget that? It's Pride Month. All right. So it's quite the story, and so long story short. Rose Loera, the city of Lafayette, decided they're going to make a municipal swimming pool. They put out a request to the entire community, including all the Latino members of the community, for support, either cash or supplies to build this pool. They build the pool and then put up a sign that essentially was a whites-only sign. And Rose Loera was willing to fight back against that. So she essentially brought a lawsuit against the city, a lawsuit of discrimination. The city, in order to try to bypass that, sold the pool to the fire department, tried to claim it was a private facility. It wasn't a school facility, a city facility. And when Rose, initiated her lawsuit, they decided to just fill the pool in. Nobody was going to, they rather than let, people of color use the swimming pool, they just decided nobody was going to use the swimming pool. But in the process of the legal suit that Rose Loera had initiated, she was in California, was allegedly hit by a car accident, died, and there was some question as to whether that lawsuit could continue because she, as the claimant, she was deceased. It did go forward. Her oldest daughter, I think, testified on her behalf. It didn't go well for her, but it was she lost that lawsuit. Her daughter did on Rose Loera's behalf. So fast forward, this was the 30s, several generations later, we still have an entire community in the city of Lafayette that has been traumatized by that. That sense of exclusion and erasure and yes, we'll take your money and your labor, but we won't allow you to experience the full benefits of all that in this community. And so a longtime activist in the community, Mr. Frank Archuleta, brought that to the HRC's attention, and we worked with him to find ways to address or redress that grievance and to address the long-term trauma that sits with that. And I think probably in the case of Rose Loera, and the contemporary case where we're trying to address that case of discrimination, that very egregious case of discrimination, was at the, so HRC had advised City Council. City Council decided to name the pool because up until this point, when the rec center was finally built in the 80s, I think it was, and the pool, they have a pool in the rec center, and it had remained unnamed. It was just the pool at the rec center. And so the idea was to name that pool the Rose Loera Pool after Rose Loera. And we had a big, huge gathering to celebrate and announce this at the, I think it was at the rec center. Yeah. And I was completely overwhelmed by not only the number of community members who showed up, but descendants of Rose Loera. It kind of gets me choked up right now thinking about it, who were in the crowd, having that moment of finally getting some justice for her and them as members of the community. I mean, you can't go back and make it right, but you can engage in that kind of restorative practice that says, we got it wrong then, we know better now, we can do better now, and we are going to do better. We are doing better. Now, of course, 50 years from now, someone will come back and say, here's how we messed up this time, but at least we're moving forward and we're, making those steps in that effort. But yeah, so back to restorative justice. In a sense, this was a kind of restorative justice, which I hadn't really thought about until just now. So that's really cool. But restoring that violent act of racism and discrimination that happened to Rose Luares and her family and the rest of her community by extension, because they had all, there's a whole list. You can find a whole list of people who had donated supplies for the pool. And it's not just the Luares family, and so when that sign went up, it's like it wasn't just Rose. I mean, she had the wherewithal and the courage to try to fight back, but she was representative of an entire community. So, and actually, that the beauty of that example is that it reminds us that violence happens in all kinds of ways. And harm happens in all kinds of ways. It's not just because I beat you up or I shoot you with a gun or I steal from your store. I deny your humanity. I erase you. I make you invisible. I deny you the right to your fullness as a human being. That's violent. That is violence. It's psychic harm. It's emotional harm. It's family harm. And it's just. And so anything that can be done in terms of changing our mindset into that more restorative focus can only be a good thing.